flat tracks, and the trains will continue the journey. So no time is wasted in transporting the goods. This allows for just-in-time deliveries. This is quite flexible, and goods can be transferred from even aeroplanes and other modes of transport to, road-going vehicle or rail. And that flexibility is what combined transport is also about. It allows for integrated logistics, all types of logistics, passenger logistics, freight logistics, urban logistics can all be combined together to achieve, the objective required. By use of certain wagons and equipment used in rail transport and maritime transport, high capacity of goods can be transported quite easily. For instance, in rail transport, the capacities of wagons can go as high as 85 tons. So the use of rail as an integral part of combined transport allows the delivery of high capacity of cargo within very short time. There is very little use of personnel in combined transport because it will not require intermediate handling. It may not require offloading and reloading and whatnot. Equipment can be used to transfer cargo in appropriate loading units, which may be secured and sealed from one mode of transport to the other. And this reduces the number of personnel required to provide such services. It also caters for the use of equipment in a more effective way. I've already mentioned that most of the equipment, handling equipment used in road may be used in rail, so that when they are used alongside or when you change from one mode to the other, there is at the terminals where loading units may be transferred to another mode of transport. It may not require any special equipment. The same will be used, and that makes it more and more efficient, and that reduces cost. So the points I have listed for you, those bullet points, cater for the benefits derived from the use of combined transport. This slide shows you the pictorial view of the different two different types of combined transport. The top side of it shows unaccompanied combined transport. You realize that in the picture there is an overhead gantry on the left, which is the second row, and there's another top loader on your right, and that is an enlarged version of what is shown in the top part. You will see a truck, green truck, going towards the left side of the overhead gantry crane, and the gantry crane would lift only the straw body or the cargo from the truck and place it on the flat car or the flat track, as you see in the middle section. So the green container now sits behind the locomotive, which is painted red. You see that the whole lorry is not being carried on the flat track. It's only the straw body or the cargo. That is what is unaccompanied. That is what is called unaccompanied transport. The cargo is separated from the truck or the tractor and placed on the flat tracks for the train to pull. So you see there are 3 flat tracks following the red locomotive. And when it gets to the destination on the right, where you see an overhead crane lifting it, it takes it to another vehicle to be carried to whether the warehouse or wherever it should go. And the The views below also demonstrate it in another form where different modes of transport are used. The picture below, the lower part, the one at the bottom, is what exemplifies accompanied transport. You realize that from the left-hand side, there's a gray truck. You can see the tractor with the swirl body on it. And there's another truck that is green in color, that the truck is carrying a swirl body. There's another one with red and white in the front. All of these trucks would drive up a ramp and sit on a flat track, and the flat track will be carried away by the locomotive. The difference here is the whole truck is being carried by the train. So all the trucks that goes on accompanied transport, a whole truck is carried by the flat body or the flat track, and it is carried away by the locomotive to the destination. So when the locomotive gets, or the train gets to the destination, it will allow the trucks to drive down a ramp and then hit the road, and it's on the way. In this case, the driver sits or waits in a couchette that I described. But in an unaccompanied transport, the tractor of the truck does not go with the train. In accompanied transport is the whole lorry, the tractor and the swirl body or the cargo. So the same truck, the same driver can continue the journey when the train arrives at the destination. That is the difference between combined and unaccompanied. Unaccompanied combined transport. For accompanied, the whole trucks is driven onto the flat track and they are towed away. For unaccompanied, the swirl body or the cargo is lifted from the truck onto the flat cars, and the locomotive would only carry the cargo in the swirl bodies to the destination, and another tractor or vehicle would be carrying the swirl bodies or the cargo to the final destination. So one is accompanied, you could say, where the driver is with the train and they'll be resting comfortably in the couchette until they get to the destination, and by that time legislation will allow them to continue to drive. So by so doing, the cargo can be delivered in the expected period of time. Look at this slide carefully. You see that a whole lorry is placed on the flat track. That is what happens in the combined transport. So here there are two flat tracks, and then there are two articulated trucks. One has a trailer, and one is a longer 40-footer. One is 220-footer, with a trailer at the back. So this is accompanied combined transport. This slide shows the kind of gantry cranes used for dispatch and unloading at the terminal for combined transport. Right. So you see the truck facing the other side, and you see the flat cars on the left. The lorry is on the tarmac and it drives away towards the right. The train on the left side within the gantry crane brings the load or the swirl body. The gantry crane picks it up, lifts it up, and then drops it on the lorry, the flatbed lorry, and the lorry drives away. So the flat track of the train is on the left, the lorry is driving on the right. So this is what happened at dispatch and unloading. Some of the equipment used in combined transport for loading swap bodies are shown here in this slide. In the top left, you see that there is a gantry crane, blue in the back, and there is a top lift, equipment loader that has lifted the swap body. So this is what we call a swap body. On the extreme right, you see there's an articulated truck with about 24-wheeler at the bottom. A gantry crane will lift up the swirl body, and it's somewhere in the middle. there is a township beyond, and it will transfer the swore body onto a rail was flat rack. Some of the equipment are shown beneath. The top loader and the others, some of which you can see at the Tema port. A few more of the equipment used for loading and unloading is also shown here. Straddle crane, and the cranes on the left, I believe that is what has been installed at MSC, the new facility, deep sea at the Tema port. So these are for your viewing, and all sorts. These ship to shore gantry cranes, that is the one on the left, which you see as MSC. Straddle carriers, that's the one in the middle with containers green and red on top of it, with wheels at the bottom and yellow in color. And the gantry cranes are the blue ones, and the one at the bottom is also the gantry crane. The flat track in the front there is part of the Murphy trucks that have been in use at the Tema port. More examples of loading units use sea containers, swore bodies, all sorts of things being shown here. The loading units typically used in combined transport includes swore bodies. You have seen pictures of it. A piggyback. Piggyback is where the swore body is lifted from the truck onto the flat racks, and they are towed away by the locomotive, and when they get to destinations, they are lifted from the flat racks onto another truck to taken away. Then the third loading unit is what we call rolling roads. Rolling road is where trucks with the tractor and the swore bodies are driven onto the flat tracks and they are carried away. So that is what we call rolling road, and in fact it is a loading unit used in combined transport. Sea containers of various sizes are also used as loading units in combined transport. This slide shows what happened at the gateway terminals, where cargo is transferred from tarmac or the road to rail. In the picture on your right, you see there's tarmac in the middle, on the other far side too, and there are many rail cars waiting by the side. The gantry cranes would roll to the front or to the back and use hooks to lift the cargo and transfer it to the other mode of transport. This is how loading and conveyance, what we call dispatch. And these activities happens at gateway terminals. So gateway terminals, when you hear of them, are not any strange, sophisticated facilities. They are just, facilities such as tarmac and rail lines lay alongside each other, and then with gantry cranes or overhead cranes, as you see, from the left picture, used to lift cargo from one mode of transport to the other. This is how loading, dispatch, and what we call conveyance is done at gateway terminals. Yeah, this is also, what happens at the gateway terminals. You see there's a road, even it's a dual carriage road, but in between on the left is a road, on the right is rail lines, and on the far side you see a lot of rail lines. So the gantry crane can move alongside several stretch, or this is a gateway terminal where the gantry cranes can move within its own tracks to transfer cargo from anywhere on the facility to anywhere else that it will be required to be taken to. So gantry cranes are also shown in the picture on the right, doing the job at buses. Here you can see reach stackers on the right, and using reach stackers is comparatively very low in capitation compared with gantry cranes. Even though they have high maintenance costs, they are, they give quite moderate productivity. And they are quite flexible because they can be moved anywhere using the tarmacs. The gantry cranes are not easy to operate. They are fitted into special lines or rail lines, and they cannot just be moved anywhere. That makes it a very expensive facility. Reach stackers are able to move anywhere because, just like um, top loaders, um, they use rubber ties, so they can be taken anywhere and used to do the sort of conveyance or dispatch required.